Often there's an ego involved where people have been going this way for so long and that senior executive hasn't had what my partner calls their black swan experience, meaning that just because you haven't seen something doesn't mean that problem doesn't exist.
4, 3, 2, 1. Well, welcome to NABOE's The Big Idea podcast. Today's guest is Vaughn from Shipshape IT. Welcome, Brian.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me, Vaughn.
So let's start off with, I want to thank you for your support of NABOE. This series right here, where we're talking about sponsors who make NABOE happen. NABOE is now 11 years old. We've got terrific sponsor support like your firm. And I think it's important for people to get to know our sponsors because you do so much to make sure that this NABOE programs go out every month and we're expanding what we're doing. So let's, one, thank you for your support.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Two, tell us about yourself and Shipshape IT.
Getting an ecosystem of vendors and referral partners and centers of influence was something that we kind of charged headlong into it for, but then we got these other benefits coming out of it in addition to our bottom line. And I think anytime you can go in and get like-minded people that have the same goal and you get their audience, unless you're not very good at your job, you're going to see an effective expansion. So we did that, and we have NABOE and CEO and Focus to thank for what was last year a 35% top line growth number, and also a order of magnitude higher profitability. 10% of that, 11% of that came from an acquisition that we did, but 24% of that was from new revenue growth coming off new logos and expansion of existing logos. It was literally twice what our growth had been before in our best year. So Shipshape IT will remain a CEO Focus and NABOE client, even in this age of COVID, where we can't do what we all did for a year and a half, 2 years ago, which you and I have joked about. We thought that would be the end of business networking. And it turns out that between podcasts, virtual coffee breakfasts, CEO Focus events, you've managed to morph a virtual organization that does identically what the physically oriented organization did before. And we have a hard time not seeing this investment continue to pan out. I was a little skeptical the first couple months, frankly, but the head count that we were getting to these events and the prospects that we saw coming out of it, frankly, surprised me. I had my fingers crossed and I wanted to stay optimistic, but we were very pleased at the lead stream that has come out of these resources that we otherwise wouldn't have had access to. NABOE, I kind of envisioned as more of a brass tacks, business networking, business development, broad net.
But at the end of the day, I think everybody realizes I'm there to serve you all and help you all be the best that you can be at running your companies. You get to know your clients better than most any other IT firms that I've come across. So you get to know them and their needs first. You do your pricing. It's an all-inclusive pricing structure. For the most part, everybody's going to have one-off projects that need to happen.
Sure.
But by doing so, there's a comfort as a business owner in doing business with you all because it's not constant surprises. Well, wait a minute. You said it was going to be, I don't know, 1,000 a month, 2,000 a month, whatever, 3,000, whatever that number is.
Right.
And then all of a sudden I get a bill for 5. And I go, well, wait a minute. You said you don't do that sort of thing. And by getting to know your potential customer, and that way, in knowing them in depth and taking that time, it takes time from you all. You know, I mean, it's work on your part, but where you get, where you stand out from other IT firms is that you do take that time so you know your client, you know that what their needs are, and then you frame a service package around those needs.
Often there's an ego involved where people have been going this way for so long and that senior executive hasn't had what my partner calls their black swan experience, meaning that just because you haven't seen something doesn't mean that problem doesn't exist.
Right.
And all of a sudden they get hit with ransomware and that CTO gets fired because they didn't have an offsite backup that was nearline and not online, so that ransomware would go and invade that remote backup. We see those kinds of instances with new client acquisition often. And with that experience, we have to tell those prospective new clients that haven't had that black swan experience that here's why you need to. And if they won't do it, that's certainly something we're comfortable with, but we don't have an offering that allows them to not do it. If you're going to sign up for my IT support service, you get the disaster recovery.
I think what I like about what you do is you say, look, to do this right, you need to have a certain level of management of your IT infrastructure. And if somebody says, well, just do my backups or whatever, you don't want to do it unless you're doing it right, unless you're This is honestly one of the most important decisions a company should be making about who supports their IT, their IT needs. And
right.
Most companies have no idea how the damage that ransomware can do. I've heard studies that said that, if you get caught by either ransomware or just pure destructive behavior, where they don't even want money, they just want to destroy. But
right.
Small businesses, over half of them go out of business because of this downtime that happens from ransomware or somebody coming in and taking over their systems. So this isn't something that people should just try to get the cheapest vendor. That you've got to understand what you're getting. And I think, today in our discussion, you laid out there's a lot of details here. There's a lot of detail Absolutely. That you've got to give attention to. And that's what you all do. And I think that's a comforting feeling, that knowing that you guys are going to sweat the details. I as a business owner, I may not want to sweat all the details, but right. I want somebody that I know is going to sweat the details for me. And if that's part of my package with that vendor right. that's supporting me, hey, you can't beat that, right? That's what you want. So that's what
You're
you do.
Right.
But I'm going to put you under the hot spot here. I want you to tell me. We always talk about this as the elevator talk. I want you to tell me in 1 minute, who is your target customer for Shipshape IT today? Just today. Who's your target? What do they look like? What kind of business industries are there? What size are they in number of people or revenues or however you define it? You got a minute. Go.
Okay. I should start my clock because I tend to go over on these things. I think from a sizing standpoint, we typically we'll service clients anywhere between 5 and 150 employees.
Okay, 5 and 150. Okay.
Correct. Our sweet spot within there, where we have most of our clients that we look to pursue and maintain and are most successful with, is in the 20 to 60 range. We find those accounts tend to stay forever so far as employees go. So far as vertical industries, we have 4 primary, but they're not exclusive. So it's healthcare, government contractors, nonprofits, and the legal industry, which is mostly law firms, but there's some other peripheral businesses that are in there, litigation support, discovery services, things like that. Beyond those 4 areas of professional services firms, we have an awful lot otherwise, property management and manufacturing. These aren't areas that we focus on and have a great deal of application level expertise. And I think that's probably the third and final thing to stay under a minute that I will share about. In the 4 that I mentioned, application level expertise from your IT vendor is something that a lot of people look past. They think how good their IT provider is on what we call the network administration layer, right. Making sure your backups are working, making sure that your firewall is functioning and your information is secure. These are all critical functions. You take law, for example. Having an IT vendor that specializes in the business of law is a true area of differentiation that every managing partner of a law firm that is north of more than 4 or 5 people need. How to manage their conflict checking software, their docketing system, their calendaring system, their document management system. how to be legally compliant if they're doing anything that can touch healthcare or PHI, protected health information, personal health information. That is something that puts them under the microscope of a HIPAA compliant business associate.
Without a doubt, you sweat the details so that the clients, this is just one area they don't have to worry about if they have you all as their vendor. So congratulations on that. Congratulations on your success. Thank you for supporting NABOE and CEO Focus. This has been a great conversation. Thank you.
Very much enjoyed it. Thank you, Ron.